All right, so continuing our discussion on formalizing relations and functions, is there another way on how you can identify a function? So one other way that we can use is what we call as the vertical line test. And you can use the vertical line test, especially if your relation is in graph form. So what is the vertical line test? So if you have a graph, so you imagine drawing vertical lines anywhere on that graph, okay? And for it to become a function, it only needs to touch only one point anywhere on the graph, okay? The moment that the vertical line touches more than one point, then it is just a relation, okay? So let's have an example here. So is the relation a function? We can use the vertical line test. So we are not given the graph, but we are given ordered pairs here. So what you can do is you can plot each of these points onto our graphing area here. So we have -4, 2. So we have a point over here. We have -3, 1. 1 point over here. 0, -2. That's another point there. -4, -1. So so that's -3, -4, -1. It's going to be over here. Okay. And then you have 1 and then 2. So you have, oops, sorry. My bad. It's going to be over here. Oops. My wire is not working properly with that. Okay. So there's a point over there. So if you will imagine having vertical lines anywhere that will touch each of these points here, okay? So you have a vertical line here. How many points did it touch? Just one. Point here, a line here, only 1 point. Another vertical line here, just 1 point. But take a look at this vertical line. How many points were touched by this vertical line according to the graph? So you have 2 points. This point over here and this point over here lies on the same vertical line. And so this relation is not a function. Okay? So the vertical line test is a good way to find functions because from the graph itself, you can draw your vertical line anywhere. If it touches more than 1 point anywhere on the graph, then it's automatically a relation. Okay? So let's see the next example. So why don't you try to see if this equation y equals -x squared plus 3, the graph is already here. So is this a function or is this a relation using the vertical line test? Go ahead, try this one out. So if you're going to draw imaginary vertical lines anywhere on the graph, you will see that only 1 point from the graph can be touched by each of those vertical lines. And so this equation here, y equals -x squared plus 3, is actually a function. Okay, so that is how you can use a vertical line test to identify a function from a relation. All right, so let's have another example here, but this time we will be working on evaluating a function. So when you have a function notation, you will typically see it as something like this, f of x, okay? So it is just the same as the value of y. What do you mean by that, miss? So say for example, if I have y is equal to 3x plus 2, this could be written in function notation only by replacing the y and changing it as f of x. It means function of x, meaning x is the input. And you can see from the rest of the expression that you have 3x, that's your variable, that is your input. And so this expression is a function of f, okay? So, your function notation, it does not always have to be f of x or something like that. It just depends typically when there is a defined name for the function and then if there is a defined input variable that is being used, okay? So, for example, in this case here, the function w of x, okay? So the name of the function is w, the input variable is x, so we can expect that the expression after the equal sign will also include the variable x, okay? So the function w of x is equal to 250x. This expression, this function represents the number of words. So the w is the number of words that can be read in x minutes, okay? So if we have to find how many words can be read in 8 minutes, all we need to do, okay, so remember, our function is w of x is equal to 250 times x, okay? Now, our x is the number of minutes based on this given here. So if we are to find how many words can be read in 8 minutes, so what will happen is we will replace our x by the input value, which is 8. And so all the x's in the expression will also be, 250, it will also be replaced by 8, okay? So if you evaluate what is 250 times 8, so when you are reading in 8 minutes, that is a total of 2,000 words, okay? That can be read in 8 minutes, okay? So when you are evaluating a function, all you need to do is give a specific value to the function, to the variable, to the input variable, and then you simplify the whole thing. You use your pandas, you use your grouping symbols, your distributive property, all of those things, so that you can come up with one value, okay? And so in this problem, there will be, you can read 2,000 words in 8 minutes, okay?